Greetings, gaming historians, and welcome to Lord of Lore, where we break down the lore and history of our favorite games and fantasies. Today, we're going to be doing something a little different. I've covered many different things about Amalur's world and lore, and while there's plenty of things I have not yet touched upon, I would like to expand my variety in order to open up new content from time to time, especially if Fatesworn does not release anytime soon. However, before looking into other worlds, I would like to take a closer look at one of my favorite games and give my critiques, praising what it did right, but also noting what I think may be improved. Today, we're going to be discussing 7 things I would want to see in future content. Before we begin with the critiques, let's examine what gamers and fans like and dislike about the world. What all players love about the game is its amazing combat and customization, playing similar to a PS2 beat-em-up with heavy RPG customization. However, some gamers think this can become repetitive, especially due to many of the game's linear content and when your player quickly becomes overpowered. Another complaint is about the world. All of you know the Amalur world is amazing, but many critics think the world is generic and/or a bit unalive. What can be improved about these things? Let's discuss. Number 1. Make combat less repetitive. Reckoning's combat is great, and honestly, it's my favorite part of Amalur that keeps me coming back. Games like Dragon Age and World of Warcraft, click a button and hope you have the right stats. Elder Scrolls, keep swinging and hope you have enough potions. Even Dragon's Dogma, a game that I eventually grew to enjoy for its strategic combat, can still be a bit of a slog that depends more on stats and items than any true skill. Reckoning is different. Even if you're super underpowered, players can expertly time parries, dodges, and combos to defeat swarms of foes. Get the correct abilities, equipment, and builds, and you can be a ridiculous overpowered destroyer. However, while this is awesome, I can see how some players find this a bit repetitive. While such battles were all the rage in the PS2 era, games like Dark Souls and other combat systems have made us expect more care put into our battles than throwing thousands of attacks and powers. Now, am I saying that Reckoning needs to have a lock-on or be Souls-like? Absolutely not. Reckoning has a great combat system that everyone likes, but what it needs is a little more variety in its own system. The game has lots of enemies, but a lot of the weaker mobs are simple and reskinned, and every battle is often half a dozen mobs and a stronger enemy that doesn't flinch from attacks. The game needs to keep its awesome dodge and parry and spell system, but what can help it feel a little less repetitive? Honestly, I think a sequel would need to learn some lessons from games like God of War and Devil May Cry. Our characters are overpowered, and they're supposed to feel that way. So instead of enemy battles with only 7 or so enemies that we just parry, attack, and repeat, I think the game should include a ton of more weaker enemies for our character to just wade through as they focus more on the stronger boss-like enemies. In addition, these enemies could also be a little more gimmicky in their approach. Games like God of War PS4, in order to avoid repetition, have given many enemies an almost puzzle-like approach to keep things interesting. What if our character had to hit an enemy while they were charging an attack in order to open them up? What if we had to destroy these little battery-like things in order to break an enemy's force field? What if stronger enemies had multiple phases? Little things like this would go a long way. Number 2. Make NPCs a little more personal. One of the biggest complaints about the games is that NPCs feel bland and the world seems uninteresting. We know that is a total lie, and the world is rich with interesting characters and heavy lore. However, even though there's a lot of great stuff, I think the game does a poor job of presenting this. While there are plenty of interesting characters, it can be a bit of a hassle to learn about their everyday lives. Instead, they kind of seem like exposition buckets that just want to explain about the surrounding area. While it can feel great to ask a character what a fae is for the first time, it can be a little annoying when the next 50 characters want to spend 3 minutes talking about the same thing you already know about. What could be the best way to fix this? I've seen in some games' conversation system, the main dialogue choices talk about characters or their related quests or interests. And then there is a side wheel that you can open up if you want exposition. I think that would be an easy fix, and by doing it this way, characters voiced by the same actor can even reuse lines so that writers can spend more time making dialogue that makes the character and their town feel more alive. Number 3. Make lore a little less in your face. Amalur's lore is absolutely amazing, but once again, I feel the content is let down a bit by the way it is presented. The world is deep, but every character you come across gives you 50 proper names in a single sentence, and that can be a little overwhelming to new players. In addition, I think it makes some players feel that they already know all the world has to offer, which is a major mistake. We know that. So to improve this, I think a majority of the world's lore should be contained within books, lore stone, and the added exposition dialogue. That way, players aren't bombarded with lore that they can't understand yet. Number 4, more scripted events. Now, this one might be a bit controversial, but I think the game should be a little more linear. Some players may want the open world and NPCs to be as complicatedly open as Elder Scrolls, but I think if they did that, Amalur would lose a bit of its niche that made the original so great. While I do think the open world you explore should be more open with more routes, I think areas you explore during major quests like the main story and faction quest lines should be more linear and have scripted events. Think about it. No open world RPG has such awesome encounters like Reckoning's bosses. Rather than just facing an extra powerful Draugr, you get to fight the Balor, you get to fight Tyrnok. Instead of focusing on making an already decent world even more complicated, I think the individual dungeons you explore during major quests should have an almost level-like feel to them, making them more unique and involving various puzzles and encounters. This would definitely improve the repetitive complaint of some fans. Number 5, more choices. Reckoning has another thing you don't see in many open world games. Dialogue wheels. While there are some great encounters when you can persuade or ask a funny question, I think the encounters found within Reckoning don't use the dialogue system to its fullest potential. I think the game should follow a more Dragon Age or Star Wars Old Republic-like style where the words you can say lead to different dialogue trees, each with their own unique reaction. The game's current choices are usually just good guy choice, bad guy choice. This choice system could also extend into quests. While you can pick your own endings to a lot of quests, the only real difference is usually which person you side with or what reward you get. What about more interesting encounters, like if you betray somebody, they may want revenge later on? What if by choosing one faction, you become enemies with another? An open world RPG really needs a lot of weight and choice, and this would significantly improve its replay value. Number 6, followers. Now, this one is a bit controversial. I'm not sure how well this would translate in Reckoning's current style, as any followers in the game are typically quest-related and don't offer that much help. Honestly though, I think such a system could improve immersion. I honestly believe that the playable character should be the only one doing any real damage, with followers just throwing in the occasional chip damage. But imagine how well a follower system could improve the experience. It would feel less lonely, the different followers you pick for your team would help with variety, and if a better dialogue system was implemented, we could even build interesting relationships and experiences within our party. Such a thing like that would be easy to implement, but awesome to experience. And lastly, number 7, a better name. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. That's a mouthful. What name should I use when talking about it? Amalur? Kingdoms of Amalur? Reckoning? A little thing like that can dramatically impact word of mouth and casual gamers. No casual consumer says, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, or Middle-earth Shadow of War. They just say Skyrim and Shadow of War. So honestly, I think a sequel needs to focus more on the big letters than the subtitle above it to avoid confusion. I think THQ fixed some of this with Re-Reckoning, and I hope to see a bigger, more unique name for any sequels. And that about does it for today's video. While I did offer my critiques, I still love this game. In my opinion, games like Dragon's Dogma and Skyrim simply don't compare with the combat, the world, and the gameplay of Reckoning, but we can all agree the Amalur series needs something to help it stand out more in a sea of other RPGs. Who knows, maybe Project Copernicus will focus entirely on World of Warcraft style RPGs, but with THQ's focus on Re-Reckoning, I honestly think we'll see a game more like the original if we see any sequels. So what do you think needs to be improved? Leave your comments in the So what do you think needs to be improved? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and remember to drop a like and subscribe so my channel can grow. Feel free to comment what you would like to see next, new videos every week. God bless.